Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 882, we're going to talk about the first of the Myojins. Well, not the first that they made, but the first I've covered. The Myojin of Roaring Blades. Now, these were commander cards in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty that were not found in commander decks. Yeah, I personally don't think they should do that, or whatever, but as far as rares go, none of them are that expensive. I think this one is under a quarter. But anyway, they are not really amazing as commanders because of this first line. It enters the battlefield with an indestructible counter if you cast it from your hand. So it's got that indestructible counter. That used to be called divinity counter. They're just simplifying it. Remove an indestructible counter from this and deal 7 damage to each of up to 3 targets. So, in order to make this work, and this is the first one, so I only had one copy of this card, the command beacon. In order to make it work, you've got to have the command beacon, right? You sack it to put your commander in your hand to make it indestructible, where it has that indestructible counter on it. If not, you just got a big 7 power. Now, beyond that, it's a red deck. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with it? And I had this, it was a terrible idea, of a red life gain deck. Yeah, sounds crazy, right? And as it turns out, it's not a thing that can happen. But I was already so far deep into it. Let me show you what I got. We're going to, you know what? We're going to do this in timeline order. I think we are. In the very first set, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised, Fourth, whatever, they had a charm for each of the colors. Red was, there were artifacts that you could spend 1 mana, and any time a spell of that color was cast, it gives you a life. Well, these saw actual 0 play. So it took them several years, all the way to like then. I think Dark Steel was the first set to bring the new Lucky Charms. Dragon's Claw. You paid 1 more for it, so it costs 2, but you just automatically gain the life. You don't have to pay for it. Then we improved on the design a little more. We added another mana to the cost a couple years later, and cast a red spell or a mountain enters the battlefield, you gain a life. So that was kind of neat. We got a mana rock that just, every time it tapped, you gain a life. The Paradise Plume. I would probably play the Paradise Plume anyway in the deck if I wasn't trying to go for the life gain. But, it enters play, you choose red. Somebody casts spell the color, you gain life, but you tap for mana. So, I mean, it is an overcosted rock, but it does have another function. And then this new from M19, just at the beginning of upkeep, you gain a life, and you can sack it to draw a card. That really put me over the edge, because this is small red, right? Now, our commander does cost 4 gajillion mana, so we need some mana ramp. And we've got it. We're going to roll through this pretty quick. Soul Ring, Mind Stone, Fire Diamond, Heraldic Banner, Hazardous Monument. It's beautiful because it lets you filter. The Burnished Heart, Spectral Searchlight, Seer's Lantern. Yes, Golem's Eye. We're in that deep with the red ramp, right? The Sisse's Ring, Everflowing Chalice, which I count as a 4-drop when I'm for deck building purposes. Hedron Archive. Love these ones you can sack to draw cards. Mana Geyser, because that thing, you can get value out of that spell. The Meteorite, I know. And then the Dreamstone Hedron. Because we want to play our commander as fast as we can, right? Whether it's with or without that indestructible counter. Preferably with, We would really love to have that indestructible counter on there. So let's look at our card draw. in red, as it were. Faithless Looting, Tormenting Voice, Humble Defector. Like I said, your mileage may vary on Humble Defector. We get a lot of mileage of it here because two people will agree to just pass it back and forth until somebody else kills it. So it generally draws you. But even if it only draws you 2 cards, that's 2 mana for 2 cards. I mean, it's not terrible. Thrill of Possibility. Outpost Siege. Exile the top card of your library. That's a lot of what red card draw is temporary gain. You can play it that turn. Court of Ire. I've got this in the card draw because it's the only thing that gives us the Monarch, and the Monarch is a decent card draw mechanic for red, even though it probably is a removal spell. We have the Sandstone Oracle, which every time I've cast it, it has been well worth the 7 mana. And then the Apex of Power. Now this is, it's a bunch. It's 10 mana, 7 cards, and I mean, we're going to get 10 mana back out of it, but now let's look at our helper people, because 7 power on a commander is that sweet number. It's 3 hits for a commander damage win. So there's certain things that we really want to do. Furnace of Wrath is in there. The triple damage will be in here. If you've got it, play it. Relentless Assault. 2 combat steps is pretty good. The Goblin War Drums is going to, give it menace. And then the Sudden Impact, because somebody's going to be holding a ton of cards. But our helpers, like Cadus now, I love this guy. A commander you control deals combat damage to opponent, deals that much damage to each other opponent. Now, I realize it's not commander damage that Cadus is doing, but there could be a point where this is just a big number anyway, right? Anax, Archetype of Aggression. We're going to have Trample. The Agitator Ant to kind of buy us a little bit of time, You want some counters? Tarhian Mauler. Tarhian Mauler is an amazing... it's amazing for our format. And the bigger the game, the more value you get out of Tarhian Mauler. Torbrand, I mean, we're in all red, and it makes all those 1 damage spells, 2 damage spells kind of matter a little more. Now, I love me some Hamlet Bat Goliath, and I may be the only one, I know it, but I get more out of this card than I think I should. Just because, in a 4-player game, or 5, 6, 7-player, I'm going to cast it, and by the time I untap with it, it is crazy big. So, yeah, I love it. And then the Terror of Mount Velus, just giving double strike, which leads us to our, hey, let's pump up our commander stuff, right? We have Granite Grip and Claws of Valakut, because we are in mono red. The Bone Splitter and the Fire Shrieker, because we love that double strike. Infuriates the red Giant Growth. Kite Sail. Now, I know, Kite Sail is not exactly the power level card that everybody wants it to be, but it grants flying. I mean, and just the ability in mono red to grant flying permanently for 4 mana, I'll take it. And then Batterbone, the poor man's Batterskull. It's lifelink, and that was another aspect that I didn't have a Loxodon Warhammer, because I really wanted the Warhammer for the lifelinking, the life gain part. But that's a thing that I can do later as I get those cards, I guess. So comment in the I'll say this once more because it's been a while since I said it, probably a year or two. anything you see that I have missed that any this deck or any deck that you watch does, make a comment down below. Tell me what it was, because eventually I will get caught up, and when I have time to go back and update decks, what my plan is to look at the video and see what comments y'all have made to see what I have missed, and I will start the refit from there. So now, removal wise, y'all know I love Gorilla Shaman because it just munches all the soul rings. Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt's not bad with double damage and +2 damage and all of that. And it's a good card. So much so that I'm even playing the Shock. Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. A Braid. Soul's Fire is a... I've got it in here as removal, but it could also be, a finishing blow. Pillage. Transmogrify. Chain Reaction. This is the reason why we want that indestructible counter, is for the stuff like Chain Reaction and Larry Nevin's Disc. Predator Flagship, y'all know that I love. I figured here we have enough mana ramp, because we want to play our commander early. We have enough mana ramp to support a Predator Flagship. It's repeatable creature destruction. So that's and a lot of the times the creatures you want to destroy, they already have flying, so you just do that. Here's our Temple of the False God, some cycling lands, Desert of the Fervent, and the Forgotten Cave. Myriad Landscape, of course, good for monocolor. Rogue's Passage has to be in there, because, why not? Forge of Heroes, I'll put a +1/+1 counter on my commander. And then Encroaching Waste, because Maze of Ith is a real card. Cards like it. Maze of Ith has kind of let us made its way into the vernacular. Oh, is that a maze? It might be one of a dozen cards, but it has a maze-like effect. Even just the card Ith does it. So we are going to go put 882 on the wall. I do appreciate y'all watching, but I'm going to keep going because y'all know what I'm doing. Same clothes. I've recorded most of these in the last several days at the same time because I'm trying to get caught up because I'm got a lot of stuff going, Anyway, I do appreciate it. Y'all let me know what you think, and we're going to go ahead and shuffle and cut.